One of the most popular conspiracy theories, probably the most popular, is that the Apollo moon landings were faked. Surveys show roughly 6% of Americans believe that these 12 men never really stepped foot on the moon, and that all of it was simply filmed in a studio. But here's what the other 94% say. We have millions of eyewitnesses who watch these events unfold from launch to landing live on TV. We have hundreds of thousands of testimonies from people involved in the planning of the mission. We have various rock samples that have been chemically analyzed and confirmed to be extraterrestrial. Plus, with a powerful enough telescope, you can even see the actual remnants of the Apollo landings on the moon with your very own eyes. Is all this true? Well, yes. But does it all necessarily mean that the conspiracy theorists are wrong? No.
No.
The truth is, the people who say it was real and the people who say it was fake, in a way, they're both right. You see, NASA went to the moon, built a fake moon studio on the moon, and recorded it all there. Case solved. Well then why would they not just build a studio on Earth? Because if they built the studio on Earth, then the gravity would be too strong. Duh. First of all, you don't actually need to believe the Earth is flat in order to be a flat earther. I have proof of this, and it starts with Einstein's theory of relativity. Think about it. Relativity doesn't just apply to time and space. It also applies to geometrical shapes. Here's what I mean by that. According to Wikipedia, the flat Earth theory has been scientifically disproven. When flat earthers were proven wrong, they took the L. But they had to take that L from somewhere, and so they took it out of the word flat and made it fat. And the Earth is this many times fatter than the fattest person in human history. Needless to say, this statement, the Earth is fat, is true. Like if I were to talk about Twitter, you would know what I'm talking about even though it's not technically called Twitter anymore, it's called X. It's a similar thing if someone says they believe the Earth is flat. That word flat really means fat, and so they're technically factually right. Look at that. The middle ground is found. Bigfoot. It is objectively true that there is some evidence for Bigfoot being real, but it's far from proven. The evidence that we have is too weak and inconclusive to convince most people. And yeah, in my opinion, it seems like all of the alleged evidence can be easily dismissed as either a hoax or misunderstanding. With one exception. This infamous footage, captured in 1967, depicts a figure walking by a creek in a Northern Californian forest. Most people assume that this is a person in a costume, but lo and behold, multiple in-depth analyses have actually proven that this is highly unlikely. All of the shapes and proportions of the entity in the footage are simply inhuman. The head isn't a humanly practical shape, the limbs all bend in places where they shouldn't be able to, and to top it all off, the figure is shown through digital and physical terrain analysis to be a staggering 7 feet 4 inches tall, a height only reached by a mere few hundred humans in recorded history. So what does this mean? Well, there's actually a simple answer. Perhaps Bigfoot is, or was, a real species, and this was one of the last, or maybe the last one to live. With such extreme scarcity of a species, it makes sense that one would never be captured or found, and only one video would ever be filmed. So perhaps Bigfoot did exist, but it's most likely extinct now. Argument resolved. Going back even farther to the year 1947, in the beautiful state of New Mexico, an alien spaceship allegedly crashed into a rancher's property. Initially, the press reported that it was a flying saucer from outer space, but the next day, they corrected themselves and affirmed that it was simply just a government weather balloon test. Today, conspiracy theorists argue that the government was telling the truth at first, and that the weather balloon explanation was just a cover-up to avoid exposure of extraterrestrial life, or mass panic, or both. But whether this is true or not doesn't really matter, because the truth is pretty clear. It wasn't a government weather balloon or an alien spaceship. It was an alien weather balloon. Aliens on another planet were testing their meteorology skills by releasing a weather balloon into the sky, but they accidentally inflated the balloon with too much hydrogen, causing the balloon to escape the atmosphere and float beyond its planet's orbit, eventually crashing into Earth. Of course that's what happened.
Well, it seems you've discovered the truth. I will have no choice but to destroy you.
No, please!